Good day. It's JJ MMA. Today we are going to be ranking the top 5 fighters in each division in the UFC. All men's divisions. We're not doing women's for this video. We're going to start with the flyweight division and end with the heavyweight division. And I don't have it up on the screen, but some criteria we're going to look for right now is obviously based on recency. So if you guys want me to put Yair Rodriguez in my top 5 in featherweight just because he had a submission win over Josh Emmett 4 years ago, that's not going to happen. And yeah, let's get right into it. We're going to start with the flyweight division. It's not working. Yeah, we're going to start with the flyweight division. And this one's hotly contested. The flyweight division has gotten so much better. There's so much new blood at flyweight, and flyweight's a great division right now. And I'm so hyped for to see the outcomes of the flyweight division. To see who ends up as champion over Van versus Pantoja. I think it's a close fight. I want Pantoja to win personally, but much respect to Joshua Bantu, and he has a sick fighting style. So we're gonna start off at number 5. And I was like debating between a few guys for this one. But I think right now it's safe to say that Kyoji Horiguchi is already number 5. And that's because he's only been in the UFC for a short time recently. He had his career in the UFC. He went, I think, 11-1 in the UFC and only lost to Demetrius Johnson, then went over to Ryzen. He beat guys like Manel Kape in Ryzen. So, that after his stint in Ryzen, he came over to, and I think he fought in one championship too. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong on that. I'm probably thinking of someone else. Yeah, I don't think he fought in one championship. But yeah, I think he fought in some other Asian promotion, Japanese promotion probably. And then he came back over to the UFC. I took a short notice in, I think, Qatar. Yeah, it was either Qatar or Abu Dhabi. It was Qatar against Tagir Ulanbekov, who was a ranked flyweight. He was ranked number 12 in the world at that time. And he beat the shit out of Tagir Ulanbekov. He was piecing him up on the feet. He was cutting him. He was breaking Tagir Ulanbekov down on the feet. And then, once they got to the ground in round 3 and Tagir Ulanbekov was badly rocked, he was dropped a bunch of times. And Kyoji Horiguchi, he sunk in a nasty rear naked choke and made Ulanbekov tap. And then after that, he had a masterclass performance against Amir Albazi where he busted up his face badly. Pause. But yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi, he's really good on the feet. He's got that Japanese style, a lot of head fakes, really light on the feet. I do worry for his chin sometimes when he gets hit because his chin is way up in the air when he's circling, and he does tend to circle the guy's power sides a lot of the time. However, this guy is very good, and I'll be interested to see how he performs against probably the best striker in the flyweight division in Manel Kape. And I think he's probably, I don't know, him and Van's close, man. This is how good the flyweight division is right now. But yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi hasn't shown me enough to be higher than this. But a guy that has had, he's only had one top 10 win. Yeah, top 10. He's only had one top 10 win. But, that guy was Brandon Moreno, and that's Loner Kavanagh. Loner Kavanagh, his performance against Brandon Moreno is very impressive. And, you don't break down Brandon Moreno like that. Taylor didn't break down Moreno like that. He got kind of a questionable stoppage against Brandon Moreno. But Loner Kavanagh, he was stinging him on the feet, breaking him apart with these body kicks. Really, really effective leg kicks from Loner Kavanagh. Was breaking down, busting up the leg of Brandon Moreno. Who does that to Brandon Moreno? Who does that? Anyways, Loner Kavanagh did. Loner Kavanagh did that to Brandon Moreno. He had him wobbled badly, and we know Brandon Moreno has an incredible chin. Brandon Moreno is kind of getting washed, even though he's 32, 33. Brandon Moreno is kind of getting up there in, fight years just because he was a good champion early in his career. I think he became champion at like 26 or 27. But yeah, Loner Kavanagh, he's really good striker. Seems to have good takedown defense. He was defending almost all of Moreno's takedowns. I think Moreno only landed 1 or 2 takedowns on him, and we know how good Brandon Moreno is in the grappling department. So I think this guy showed me enough. He showed me more than Kyoji Horiguchi with that one win over Brandon Moreno. And Brandon Moreno's, he's a very tough customer, very tricky customer. And I think he ranks right outside this top 5, despite him being number 9 in the world. So I don't get that ranking for Brandon Moreno just because he got a questionable stoppage against Taylor and lost to Loner Kavanagh, who's, I think, very good. Right up there with like the top 3 flyweights. But Yeah, I mean, the guy that I'm going to put above him, and because this guy's more proven and he's had better wins in the UFC, and I think he's in my honorable mentions for my top 20 pound for pound list. It's Mr. Tits himself, Manel Kape. Just look at the gyno on this fella, man. Mr. Tits himself, and he's really good though. He's got crazy power. This guy has like probably top 10 pound for pound power in the UFC. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good with the striking. He's got good, decent enough grappling defense. I'm pretty sure he's got decent enough grappling, offensive grappling. I think I've seen him grapple a little. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not breaking down Manel Kape's old fights like that because nowadays he's just getting everybody out of there with the striking. Like he finished Asuama Bayev early, finished Brandon Royval, and Brandon Royval's a very tough guy to finish like that. And he absolutely colded Brandon Royval. Josh Van wasn't able to cold Brandon Royval, and Manel Kape was able to do it in round one with like the first good strike, the first good clean strike that landed on the chin of Brandon Royval. Manel Kape put him out cold with. And Manel Kape, I'm pretty sure his only losses in the UFC are Muhammad Makayev via a boring grappling decision and Pantoja via just breaking him down. So, his only losses are to the best guys in the world at flyweight. I don't have Muhammad Makayev in this ranking because, just he's not in the UFC. I don't know why that took me so long to get out. But, this is just based on the UFC. Obviously, as I do with all my videos, except for the recent Jake Paul MMA MVP card breakdowns. Go check that out. That's on the channel. I think Manel Kape's number 3 in the flyweight division right now. And the guy that I have above him is the champ, Joshua Van. And, Van, he's looking great. And number 1, that only leaves one guy. I got Pantoja, spoiler alert. The reason that I think Van's still behind Pantoja, even though Van is a real champ now, absolute cinema of a performance against Tatsuro Taira, by the way. Great performance by him. He overcame adversity. He was getting taken down. Taira was getting the hips pretty easily on him. And I think that Pantoja he's a lot craftier in the grappling, and he's a lot craftier with his takedowns and sweeps. Actually, no, Taira's probably equally as good at the offensive wrestling as Pantoja is. However, Pantoja's just craftier, I think. He'll be able to get the sweeps. He'll be able to do more with the ground position, and he's a lot more proven. Like Van, don't get me wrong, Van has an incredible win over Royval. I think 29-28 over Royval. I think he probably lost round 2, not gonna lie. Good win over Tatsuro Taira, fake win over Pantoja. And I think Pantoja and Van are like co-champs right now. So I feel like, their rematch, which is going to happen, if the UFC does anything other than that, they're absolute idiots over there. They're co-champs right now, and their rematch would kind of be like a belt unification because, these guys are both top of the division right now. Van gets taken down easily, but he's got really good with that butterfly guard, and he's so small and such a ball of muscle. Like if you look at the guy's legs, he's absolutely huge in the quads. He's just such a ball of muscle, and he's like 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. That type of guy I guess he's just hard to hold down on the ground. But the thing about Pantoja, the matchup of Pantoja versus Taira, is that Taira kind of waits for you to make a mistake to get the position of submission. And guys like a Hyung Sung Park and Brandon Moreno did it, even though Brandon Moreno's more crafty and he's more experienced. But regardless, Taira finished him. Van, he's just hard to hold down, and Taira, he was trying to hold him down and he couldn't. The way that Taira gets submissions is he waits for you to make a mistake, or he waits for you to turn your back, which Van wasn't doing. He was just like turning his back and then scrambling. And Van's really good with his defensive scrambles too. So, it'll be interesting to see how he fares against Pantoja, and Pantoja will take him down at least once. If Taira's taking you down, I think Pantoja will take you down. But, Pantoja's a lot better boxer. He's got defensive boxing, which Taira didn't have. Taira has hands low at elbow distance, so, no real perception of boxing defense from Tatsuro Taira there. It'll be interesting to see them fight. I think Pantoja's more proven. Wins over Royval, Perez, I think a win over Steve Erceg. It was close, not a robbery, but a win over Steve Erceg. Submitted Kai Esakura, which doesn't mean much. Submitted Kai Kara-France, good win. I mean, yeah, he beat Moreno. I forgot to mention Moreno. Moreno's a win that Van doesn't have. But I mean, I guess Van beat Teira, who beat Moreno. MMA math, but MMA math don't always work. Styles make fights. But anyways, these are my rankings for the current flyweight division. Let me know what you guys think about that. We move on to the next one, the bantamweight division. And now I had a tough time picking this number 5 spot the most because, it's like the top 4 guys, they're all at the top of the division, properly ranked, I would say. I mean, I had a tough time picking this number 5 spot, and I'm probably gonna pick the winner of I would put the winner, excuse me, I would put the winner of this guy's next fight in the number 5 spot, and that's Mario Batista. I'm gonna put Mario Batista here right now because I think he's gonna beat Corey Sandhagen. And I know Corey Sandhagen's very crafty in the grappling as well, and he's got the flashy striking. Mario Batista has some good boxing himself, but I think Mario Batista's jiu-jitsu is just so superior that Corey Sandhagen's going to try to be nerdy and get him on the ground. Never mind. I'll save my predictions for the prediction video. I just think that this guy, he's not as proven as Corey Sandhagen. However, he looks really good in his fights. I mean, he didn't look good against Aldo, held Aldo against the cage, crying against humanity. He still kind of holds a grudge against this guy for that. However, he's kind of made up for it with a really good performance, a masterclass against Patrick Mix. And we all know how bad Patchy Mix is now. No clue how that guy was submitting. I don't even know. He submitted somebody on the MVP card this weekend in Bellator, but he was running through everybody in Bellator. So I don't think Bellator is really good, man. And he just got knocked out in Ryzen. So yeah, he's losing, man. But anyways, Mario Batista, he fought Umar Nurmagomedov, had some good scrambles with him. Almost had Umar Nurmagomedov, I think, in a heel hook. Yeah, he almost had him in this ankle lock heel hook. Could have submitted Umar if he wasn't, an absolute dog. If he wasn't Dagestani, he wouldn't have submitted him. And if he wasn't a good Dagestani, if that was Tagir Ulanbekov, I think Mario Batista would have submitted him. But it's Umar, and Umar's on a different level. But yeah, Mario Batista, he looks really good in the scrambles. He's really good with the jiu-jitsu. Absolutely dominated Vinicius Oliveira in his last fight. And Vinicius Oliveira is the people were calling him withered Patchy Mix, the Michael Morales of Bantamweight. And now, Mario Batista made him look like light work. And Vinicius Oliveira was on kind of a tear, and I think he's probably going to beat Giga Chikadze in his next fight at Featherweight. But yeah, that's where I put Mario Batista. At the number 4 spot, this is where this is, it just depends how you rank the guys. And I think that, there's the 3 grapplers / Russian / Caucasus region guys at the top of the division. And that leaves out O'Malley. I think he's number 4. And that's just because I could see Mario Batista beating O'Malley just because O'Malley has no wrestling defense. O'Malley has, as much as I love O'Malley, I have a poster of him back there. You can't see it right now. It's on the top row. But, I mean, yeah, I love O'Malley, but the thing is his wrestling defense and his takedown defense is so terrible. When you got a guy like Song Yadong getting to your hips without any effort until the 3rd round when he's gassed and when you're cardio mogging him, and then you get your leg out of really close single legs that, Song Yadong kind of could have he could have worked his way into sweep takedown, swept his other leg. But then, credit to O'Malley, he got his leg out of it a few times. But, in the earlier rounds, in round 1, round 2, Song Yadong won round 2. That fight, by the way, it wasn't a robbery by any stretch of the imagination. Those who think it were smooth-brained. Those are the type of fans that will call any close fight a robbery. And, they're cancer to the sport sometimes, when they speak on the sport, it's cancer to the sport. But regardless, O'Malley's good. I think he's one of the best strikers in the UFC, but the glaring problem is his grappling defense. And I know that it's Merab out grappling him. There's a build difference. He looks like the type of guy who's going to get taken down by Merab. There's a notification at the bottom of my screen. But, when you have a guy like Song Yadong, and I know Song Yadong's pretty crafty in the wrestling himself, but you get a guy like Song Yadong getting to your hips so easily and running you over with double legs and, latching onto single legs. And, you can't even get the underhooks before he gets it. You kind of just have to craft your way out of that single leg and kind of spin around. So, when you're getting to that position with Song Yadong, you're just not, you're not high level in the grappling. But Sean O'Malley is one of the highest level strikers in the UFC. I'd say like top 5 strikers in the UFC is Sean O'Malley. Hit and don't get hit. He's really elusive. Good power for bantamweight, even with his build, which isn't the best fit for power. But yeah, O'Malley, he's at number 4, and at my number 3 spot, it's just about how you rank the guys, and this guy's the least proven out of the 3, and it's Umar. Umar's very good. This division, this bantamweight division, it's very deep. And Umar is probably one of the best grapplers in the UFC. Holding down Davidson Figueiredo. And I know Figueiredo is just like kind of a shell of himself nowadays. However, Figueiredo's still crafting the grappling. He was taking down Montel Jackson at will, and I know Johnny Barcelos almost choked out Montel Jackson with a one-armed rear naked choke. However, Umar, he's very good with the offensive wrestling, really good scrambles, tough guy. He didn't tap to Mario Batista when he was absolutely cranking on his ankle, looking for a nasty heel hook, and he had it locked in. But Umar just scrambled out of it, waited, he was patient. Really tough guy is Umar. And he's different than these other, he's like the top of the Dagestani. He's a better Dagestani than Ankalaev. He's better than Mavsar. He's a different Dagestani. I know Mavsar is 20-0, and he's quite good himself, but Umar's like the Islam and the Khabib, Habib. He's the Islam and Habib. He's the Makhachev. He's the Nurmagomedov type of Dagestani. He's that type of Dagestani. He's the Chanko type of Dagestani. And I know he hasn't had a UFC fight, but Chanko's quite good himself. But yeah, this is where I rank Umar. Number 2, I have Merab. And number 1, I have Petr Yan. And the reason that I have Merab and Petr Yan at number 2 and number 1 is because, Petr Yan broke his right hand, his power hand, before the first fight between Merab and Petr Yan. And that was where Merab shot, I think, 50 takedowns, like actually 50 takedowns. And Petr Yan, he stuffed a few of them, but he wasn't doing. He was dominated in the first fight with Merab. But then, a healthy Petr Yan, what a healthy Petr Yan does to a Merab, and I know that the Merab had excuses as well because he had 4 fight camps in a year. What a healthy Petr Yan did to Merab was very, very impressive, and Merab was still having his moments in that fight as well. I think that these guys are very close, and this ranking will be finalized after the trilogy when both guys are ready. Petr Yan, he's really good with the striking. He's got good offense. He's got really good underrated offensive wrestling. Good sweeps himself. That sweep that he hit on Figueiredo, the trip was nasty. He dunked Merab on his head, and he stuffed 27 out of 29 of Merab's takedowns, and that's very impressive for a guy that puts a pace on you like Merab. And then he broke Merab's nose. He had him all cut up in the face from the strikes that he was landing, made him scream with a liver kick. So and I have another poster of Petr Yan too over there. It's the one elevated from the other 3 that are on the bottom. But yeah, Petr Yan's a sick fighter, and that's not the reason I have him at number 1. It's because he beat Merab, and that's really hard to do. There are obviously still stylistically tough matchups here for Petr Yan. I don't think Umar's that tough of a stylistic matchup for Petr Yan, if I'm being honest. I think that Sean O'Malley is a tough matchup stylistically for him. In the first fight, it was very close. Watching it back, who won? It was the closest. You could put it either way. It wasn't a robbery. The fight wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a clear 2-1 Petr Yan, but it could have went either way. So I don't know for that fight. But it's still it's a stylistically interesting matchup. Is Sean O'Malley still for Petr Yan? I'm sure they'll run that back at some point. But yeah, we're gonna move on to the featherweight division. Let me scroll down, guys. See how much we got left. Okay, yeah. So for the featherweight division, I think that it's relatively easy to pick who you've got in the top 5. It's just hard to rank them because these guys, some of them are unproven, some of them look really good, really promising, but they haven't went against some guys yet. It's hard to rank these guys. Excuse me. But I did the best that I could. And at number 5, and I know that this is, this is like contradictory, however you say it. This contradicts Lucas Tracy. This contradicts, like a bunch of other MMA experts out there on YouTube. But, I just don't think he's that proven yet. I mean, actually, I do think he's quite proven. Gene Silva, I have Gene Silva at number 5. He's beaten Arnold Allen. Impressive win. We're going to see how that ages tomorrow. He's beaten Arnold Allen. Great win in its own right. However, he's just like against Diego Lopez, he was hitting good shots on Diego Lopez's chin, but he was eating them. How good really is the power of Gene Silva? Like, I feel like a lot of people overrate the power of Gene Silva just by, how he finished Bagsadarian, or however you say his name, the 1-2 down the pipe that sat him out cold. Not out cold, but, nearly out cold, and the ref decided not to stop it and let Gene Silva get his unnecessary ground and pound shots. However, Gene Silva, he's good. He's crafty with the striking in his own way. He's got decent grappling, good submission game. But yeah, I think he's at number 5 because, these guys that I'm going to put ahead of him have either been in the division longer or are really good prospects. And the guy that's just been in the division longer, and I don't know, I think I might just want to swap these guys out. But, Movsar Evloev at number 4. And, he is 20-0. He's 20-0, and he's beaten more guys than Gene Silva. He's more proven than Gene Silva. He's got really good grappling. He's able to get to your hips. He's got, once he gets to your hips, you're pretty much down. It's just a question of whether or not you can work your way back up. Guys like Lerone Murphy really weren't able to work their way back up, and he was beating Lerone Murphy on the feet, and that's impressive in its own right. And I know he has pillow punches. However, he's crafty with the striking in his own little ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Volk destroys him, but I think this is one of the easier fights of Volk's career, is Movsar Evloev. However, he's beaten Lerone Murphy, and I think he beat Lerone Murphy. Actually, hold on now. Do I think he beat him? I think that he either beat him or it was a draw. Not gonna lie. I think it was either a draw against Lerone Murphy or he beat him. But he had the visible damage on Lerone Murphy's face. He was dominating Lerone Murphy at the end of the fight. The thing about Movsar, man, is all of his fights could go either way. Like, you could put him versus Arnold Allen, it could go either way, but he got the win. Him versus Diego Lopez, you could argue went either way, but he got the win there, and that was a Diego Lopez on his debut, by the way. I think that Diego Lopez smokes this guy now. And that just goes to show how good Volk is. Volk is very good even at 37 years old, even as an old man himself. He's still fast. And he's slower. Don't get me wrong. He's not a prime Volk, but he's still good and he's still crafty. And he gets chinned once every fight, but he's kind of like an Oliveira with a faster recovery. But yeah, we'll talk about Volk later. But yeah, I have Movsar at number 4 right now. He's just like almost all of his fights are just like him versus Aljo could have went either way. I could have Aljo in these rankings. This is how closely contested the featherweight division is right now. It's a game of inches in the featherweight division. And one of the guys that is going to shock you guys, and you guys might say I'm glazing because I do talk about this guy a decent amount on the channel, but the guy that I have above Movsar Evloev is Kevin Vallejos. Vallejos, I know what you guys are going to say, he's only fought Giga Chikadze, Josh Emmett, but he absolutely dominated those guys in ways that other guys couldn't. Ilia Topuria couldn't finish Josh Emmett, and I know it's a different Josh Emmett, and I know that was Josh Emmett 4 yeyears ago, when Josh Emmett was less damage in his career, younger, he's 41 now, but Vallejos made Josh Emmett look like easy work on the feet. And I know Zalal made him look like easy work on the ground, but the reason I say on the feet is because Kevin Vallejos, all he needed to do was roll under those overhands, and what he was putting on knees, he was putting nasty boxing combos, soccer kicks, body kicks, leg kicks. He was doing anything he wanted to Josh Emmett. And, I know Ilia was kind of toying with him a little bit too, but Ilia wasn't able to put him away in round 1 that quickly the way that Kevin Vallejos was. He had Emmett stunned badly. It was just a very impressive performance. The way that he knocked out Giga Chikadze with a spinning back fist on the dome and then nasty elbows, ground and pound to finish the fight. The reason that I don't have this guy, and maybe I could have him below Movsar because Movsar is more proven, but he hasn't really shown his grappling yet. He does have the cauliflower ears, and I know that's not proven much, considering Movsar doesn't really, but he's got the cauliflower ears, so it looks like he could be pretty crafty in the grappling. Like, I think he's experienced enough. But he chooses to keep it on the feet. He's not best in the grappling. But I mean, I just don't we haven't seen his grappling really tested yet. So that's why I put him lower than some of these other guys. I could put him lower than Mobsar, honestly. I could swap these guys out. To be honest, I might want to swap these guys out. Yeah, I'd probably put Mobsar number 3 and Kevin Vallejos number 4, just because Kevin Vallejos' grappling hasn't really been tested yet. But man, is he a threat on the feet. And man, I think this guy is the toughest test for Volk. And hopefully Volk doesn't have to fight him, because I love Volk. I want to see him dead on the canvas again. But anyways, the top 2 guys have already fought each other. And this just shows how good Volk is. Diego Lopez number 2 and Volk at number 1. Bloody Volk still pumping the jab at 37 years of age. He's 40 years of age, yeah. And, Diego Lopez, he's very good. Diego Lopez has got great striking. He's kind of got that wild striking. He swings his head a lot when he strikes. He's very rigid with his boxing. But it works for him. It's his style. He's like an opposite Dricus with the strike. He's like, I don't know. He's kind of like Dricus with the striking. If Dricus would throw his punches at half mast, if you know what I'm saying. But not half effort, just really stop him, almost like shadow boxing with a super high guard. I don't know how to describe it, but Diego Lopez, he's got good power. He's good on the feet. He's got a really nasty, underrated submission game, and he's never taken down Volk in their fights. And he's a really good grappler. In his other fights, he's shown how good his grappling is. Submission wins in the UFC, nasty submission wins at that in the UFC. This guy regularly competes in grappling competitions, and he wins them. He's really crafty in the grappling. He just doesn't he hasn't shown it against Volk, because Volk stuffed all his takedowns. And Volk, I know Volk's trying to take down Diego Lopez as well, and he's only been successful a few times. And that goes to show, how good is Volk? How good is Volk at the age of 37? He's still got some decent wrestling. He's still fast on the feet. He's still fast enough. He's able to pop his jabs, his body kicks, his leg kicks. He's able to stumble Diego Lopez once or twice a fight. He stumbled Diego Lopez twice in the first fight, once in the second. He's he's very, very, very good, is Volk. And so is Diego Lopez. But, Volk just showed levels in both fights. And a lot of people think, 50-45 is crazy. Volk didn't win the second fight 50-45. Trust me, it's closer to 50-45 Volk than it is 48-47 Volk. So, because Diego Lopez went what? After the judges said 50-45. But, I kind of agreed with it. I would say more so, what round, tell me this in the comment section if you disagree. What round did Diego Lopez beat Volk in? And I'll review it on live tomorrow. And I'll say, he won that round, or he lost that round. Just let me know. Let me know which round did Diego Lopez take off Volk, because I didn't see any in the second fight. Anyways, we move on to the lightweight division. We're halfway through. This division was like the only tough spot. Once again, this same thing with these divisions. The only tough spot to really contest was number 5, and it was between Justin Rufus Gaethje and Mateusz Gamrot. And I just thought about the competition difference, and who have these guys fought? Who have they beaten? Do they have good styles that combat each other? How do their styles mix? And I just thought of how good Justin Rufus Gaethje's takedown defense has been against even the higher level grapplers, like the higher level wrestlers. He has really good takedown defense. He has really good wrestling, underrated wrestling. He just chooses to only use it in defensive ways. It's Justin Gaethje. I have Justin Gaethje at the number 5 spot over Mateusz Gamrot. And the reason is because, you look at this guy's last 5 fights in the UFC, he's beaten Paddy Pimblett, not that good on the feet, especially in boxing range. He's terrible in boxing range, and that's where Gaethje was able to get the fight into dirty boxing range. He actually took down Paddy Pimblett 3 times in a front headlock position. And that was his 3 most recent takedowns in it. Well, obviously it was, because it's his most recent fight. What am I talking about? But, besides the takedown against Fiziev, those were, his 3 only takedowns in the UFC were against Paddy Pimblett, who's a grappler. And then, he lost to Max. He got broken down by Max and then KO'd in the last second. He beat Fiziev twice, nasty head kick over Poirier, and I think he probably won the first round too. And Poirier is very good too. Justin Gaethje, he's beat these high level opponents. He's beat much higher level opponents than Mateusz Gamrot has. And Mateusz Gamrot's just been the guy that's like, he's taken out these prospects. Sometimes he beats the lower ranked guys, but then sometimes he doesn't. Once he tests himself against better opponents, I think Arman beat him. In that fight. I think it was a robbery. Once he tested himself against Oliveira, and I know it's Oliveira, so I'm not gonna give him too much shit about that. But once Mateusz Gamrot kind of tests himself, he kind of falls short. So I have Gaethje here, more proven. Good takedown defense, really good striking, good power, really good kicks. I'm worried for those kicks against Ilya. I'm being dead serious. I'm worried for the leg kicks against Ilya Topuria at the White House. Like Gaethje's worse in every department than Ilya, except for the kicks. So, and that's Ilya's weakness. So I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried that the American plot armor is gonna fall. Is gonna come through again. The sport is gonna be delegitimized. But anyways, we move on to number 4 spot, and we just talked about this guy Max Holloway. He brutally knocked out Rufus and broke him down before that. To be honest, he did get dropped in round 4. He got a round taken off him by Rufus, but I think he beats every other striker in the division besides Ilya. He beats every other striker. Like don't get me wrong, Arman beats this guy, Oliveira beats this guy, Ilya beats this guy. Who else? Who else do you guys think in the lightweight division actually beats Max Holloway? I think that his takedown defense is good enough to stuff the takedowns of Benoit Saint-Denis. I think that Paddy Pimblett ain't gonna do shit against him. If you ain't beating Rufus, you ain't gonna beat Max Holloway. I don't think Paddy Pimblett do nothing against him. Mateusz Gamrot's the threat in the grappling for a guy like Max Holloway. That's a different stylistic matchup. Is Max Holloway versus Mateusz Gamrot just because of how Mateusz Gamrot's got good offensive wrestling. Don't get me wrong, Mateusz Gamrot has good offensive wrestling. Oliveira's just that good, and Oliveira made him look like easy work. But Max Holloway, he's a really good striker. Obviously, I wouldn't say top 10 in today's UFC, but pretty close. Good kicks, good spinning back kick. He throws it to the body, he throws it to the head. Good leg kicks, light on his front foot, which really helps him out. Kind of like he's in like a Muay Thai blend with kickboxing stance, and it really helps him out. Wait, hold on, let me fix my camera, guys. Just realized it wasn't getting all of me in the frame. Okay, there you go. But yeah, I mean, Max Holloway, he's proven in the UFC, obviously, and he's proven against guys in the division like Justin Rufus Gaethje, like Dustin Poirier, it's not a prime Dustin, but it was still a very good version of Dustin that cracked him in round 2. Pause. But anyways, we move on to the number 3 spot, and it's the top 3 guys in the division, and it's just how do you rank them? And I think this is the way that you rank them. Number 3, Arman Tsarukyan. I know Arman beat Oliveira, but it wasn't a split. It shouldn't have been a split decision. I think Arman clearly won, but over 5 rounds, and I think current Oliveira beats Arman, and that's why I have Oliveira at number 2, and obviously at number 1, brother, I gonna knock this guy out in round 1, brother. I'm 18-0 already, brother. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly how you rank these guys. And I mean, this one you could switch up just based on Arman beat him. But I think that Arman's got very good wrestling. He's good on the feet. He's got really good kicks. He's got the body kicks, leg kicks. Not very amazing boxing, but he doesn't need it. He's like the Islam Makhachev. He's got better striking than Islam Makhachev. I think Arman's got better striking than Islam. Islam's got better striking defense though than him. Arman can be cracked on the chin. In the 5-rounder against Oliveira, who does have some serious mustard in his sands, I would be worried for Arman. This guy got cracked on the chin by Joaquim Silva. So I'd be worried for him against Oliveira. I think definitely Ilya puts his lights out. There's a chance Ilya out-grapples him, I think. There's a legitimate chance that Ilya out-grapples Arman Tsarukyan. If he does that, and I know it's a different stylistic grappling, Arman's got the better wrestling probably than Charles, but it's close. It is close. I wouldn't be surprised if Ilya out-grapples Arman. He's that good. He is an intergalactic level threat, is Ilya Tapor. I think he is Thanos of the UFC, and yeah, I mean, Ilya's that good. I think that this is the way that you rank these guys. I think Oliveira beats him in a 5-rounder. I think he's got too much power in the hands, and he'll eventually find the chin of Arman. I think he'll knock out Arman. That's my prediction. I think it starts on the feet, and I think he'll knock out Arman. I don't see him submitting Arman. If he couldn't get him in that guillotine, I don't think he'll submit him. But I think that he could. He's a more damaging fighter. Is my verdict. Oliveira's a more damaging fighter than Arman. Actually, you know what? I don't know about that. Arman's got better ground and pound than Oliveira. So if he has him in full amount, I'm worried for Oliveira. It's close, man. I would say Oliveira beats him in a 5-rounder, though. I think he finds him on the feet. But anyways, we move on to the welterweight division, the best division in UFC history right now. The current state of the welterweight division is the best division in UFC history. It was super tough to rank these guys. I was I forgot some, this division is so deep and it's such a good division that I was going through my rankings and I forgot a guy every single time I ranked. I had to re-rank a bunch of times. I had to think about who's more proven, who's got the better wins recently. And, a lot of factors played into this. And, I think that the guys in the current title picture are probably at the bottom of the division. And that's how good this division is, man. And, there's guys that are creeping up, like a Yaroslav Amosov, that are right there. They're right there. And, they're one big away from probably cracking this top 5. And maybe even then they won't crack the top 5 because then they have to get another good win. So that's how good this welterweight division is. And a guy like Yaroslav Amosov, he's going to be in a long line of contenders waiting to fight for that title. And there's this guy right here. Looking for the biggest fight in UFC history besides Khabib McGregor. This guy right here is waiting in the wings, and he's probably going to jump all these contenders. So, let's get into my welterweight rankings. Number 5, this is the next guy that's going to get the title shot. He's going to get the title shots, all but confirmed. Ian Gary, the cuck himself. And, he's good. He's got really good striking, master at distance management, really, really good tit for tat on the feet. He has baby power. He has no power. He's got the pillow punches. But, a little Ian Gary with power would be very scary. Ian Gary with power would have put out Process with that uppercut he hit on him. It knocked Carlos Process's head back. That's the thing that Process is kind of susceptible to is that uppercut. He was being hit by it almost constantly by whenever JDM would rip an uppercut at Carlos Process, he'd hit every time. And one time he snapped Process's head back like that. But maybe I'm just I know it happened, but I'm also still coping. My boy JDM. It's almost like he's still here with us. But, anyways, Ian Gary, he's got to win over Carlos Process. That's only been aging better. I think Carlos Process might, I'll talk about it later. But he's got to win over Bilal Muhammad, who didn't get a single takedown on him. Ian Gary dominated Bilal Muhammad. And, not even JDM could dominate Bilal Muhammad. And that's why I have him above JDM. Spoiler alert, I don't have JDM in this top 5. And JDM had the belt in November. That's how good this division is, man. I don't have Bilal on this list, and he had the belt in May. That's how good this division is. So, let me get to my number 4 spot. And I think that this guy just has too much power, too much size advantage, and he has the one-hitter quitter, and I think he has better wrestling. And he's not proven in the wrestling yet, but he's shown his wrestling, this guy he's Michael Morales. Michael Morales. I'm going crazy right now because of how good this division is. I'm spazzing out. I'm stimming. And, Michael Morales, he's got the power. He's got, the Ecuadorian wrestling background. Both of his parents were Olympian wrestlers. He's shown his wrestling. He's got good judo. This guy's insane, man. He's the anti-grappler that this division needs because the guys at the top are really good grapplers. The guys that are the best in the division are grapplers, and he's the anti-grappler that the welterweight division has and needs. When he fought Sean Brady, and I will always harp on this performance, he fought Sean Brady, and Sean Brady, who's absolutely dominant in the grappling. We see what he just did to Joaquin Buckley. We saw what he just did to Joaquin Buckley. We saw what he did to Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards was dominating Usman in times in the grappling. He was making Usman look silly in the grappling. Was Leon Edwards probably? Leon Edwards in the third fight with Kamaru Usman had probably the best performance in welterweight title history. Did Leon Edwards against Kamaru Usman in the third fight. I mean, Dude, this division is just insane because Sean Brady, who's out grappled Leon Edwards, who absolutely dominated Joaquin Buckley, who's not as much of as much of a coughing baby as people think he is in the grappling. It's just so impressive what Sean Brady's doing to these guys. I don't even have him in the top 5. And what Michael Morales did to him was crazy. Sean Brady didn't get a single takedown. He didn't even have the chance to get to Michael Morales' hips. What would happen is Sean Brady would shoot in for a takedown, and Morales would just grab him with his light heavyweight strength on the shoulders and push him back. And what he did after that is he was ripping combos, hurting Brady on the feet, and then he hurt Brady really bad with this flurry. It was like an uppercut, and then a left hook, and then a straight right down the middle, and then he jumped on him, nasty hammer fists, and had Brady almost starched out cold. Herb Dean stepped in. It was, oh my gosh, it's just amazing. This division is amazing. I could talk about it all day. I could talk about how good Michael Morales is all day. I think he beats Islam. I think he's a nightmare match. Actually, no. Never mind. I walk it back. I don't know if he beats Islam, but he is a nightmare matchup for Islam. He's an anti-grappler, and he has a shit ton of power. So I'd be really interested. It's a more interesting fight than Ian Gary versus Islam. Islam should be able to if Ian Gary's a better striker than Islam Makhachev. I think that we can all agree on. But I think Islam Makhachev absolutely dominates Ian Gary in the grappling, considering what he did to JDM, who isn't a slouch on the ground himself, as we saw against Carlos Prates. And that's what I'm going to put at number 3, Carlos Prates. We saw what he just did to JDM. He's an absolutely sick fighter. He whipped him with these leg kicks, stepping knees in the middle. Once he gets flowing, once he feels, he's got no power, you're not going to knock me out. I just feel him up, and then I bang knee up the middle, bang elbow. He's a great fighter, but the problem is, and the reason that I might want to put him below these guys, I don't know, these are all very close. These guys right here, they're all very close. But the reason that I could put him below these guys is because he has absolutely no grappling. Now, don't get me wrong, he has decent jiu-jitsu himself. He can throw up submissions, but he's got no grappling. He's got no takedown defense, and he can be taken down really easily, I think, by Michael Morales, who can out-physical him. I think Michael Morales could maybe beat him on the feet. This is how good this division is. We saw how good Carlos Prates looked against JDM, who's a really good boxer. But JDM's a really good boxer. He's got some decent kicks. He's good with he usually walks forward and just, he's able to rip you to the body and hit these combinations on you. And Prates was making him look silly in moments. Now, I think JDM took round 1 off of Prates. But, when the middle of round 2 was starting to happen, Prates was landing that step and knee, the elbows. Prates was just flowing on JDM. He entered a flow state against one of the best strikers in the world at welterweight in Jack Della Maddalena. This is how crazy this fucking division is, man. This is how crazy the division is. This is how deep and how talent-packed this division is, man. And, I think that, obviously Ian Gary already, got him in the grappling. Michael Morales, I think, beats Carlos Prates in the grappling. His major weakness is grappling. But, man, is this guy good on the feet. This guy is a top 5 striker in the UFC as well. This division is so crazy. And that moves us to number 2. He's not even ranked right now. He's not even ranked, and he's dealing with the knee injury. But, and I know this might be disrespectful to put him above all these guys. He's definitely above Ian Gary because he beat him, by the way. And I know Ian Gary almost finished him. But Shavkat's really good. Shavkat's really good. He's 19-0 for a reason. Had a 100% finish rate before Ian Gary. Now, I think that he beats all these guys because he's superior in the grappling, and he was beating Ian Gary on the feet. And I know MVP was going tit for tat with Ian Gary on the feet as well. And MVP is a good striker too, don't get me wrong. But Shavkat, a guy who's mainly known for his grappling and his nasty submissions, was beating Ian Gary, the master of distance control. And I know Ian Gary didn't look so good in the fight either, but Shavkat was beating Ian Gary on the feet. You don't know how impressive that was. There was a moment where Ian Gary on the ground almost had Shavkat submitted, so I guess the tables turned. But Shavkat was beating Ian Gary on the feet. He's really good on the feet as well. Good kicks, good boxing, good Muay Thai. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm spazzing out looking at this right now because all these fighters, this is the best division that we've ever seen in the UFC, no doubt about it, hands down. The welterweight division of 10 years ago, every person on this list is smoking like everybody in the top 15 of the welterweight division, 5v15, 5v16, including the champion. But, anyways, we move on to the number 1 spot, and that's the champion, Islam Makhachev. And this guy, he's the greatest fighter of all time. I'll make a GOAT list. I'll make a GOAT list for you guys. But I think that this guy's probably the GOAT right now. It's contested though. It's contested. You could argue Jones is there, but if you're counting PED cheats, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't. It's either this guy or Jones, honestly. Because who else are you gonna put? GSP? You really think GSP has a better legacy than Jones? I don't think so. And considering the opponents that GSP went against, the old era welterweights, the early 2010s and the early 2000s and the late 2000s, those welterweights, and Matt Serra flukes GSP, Matt Hughes beat GSP, and I know he got both of those back, but Islam Makhachev ain't losing to no Matt Hughes. He ain't getting fluked by no Matt Serra, and I know he got fluked earlier in his career by Adriano Martins. I think that's his name. But that was his tadpole era. That was when Islam Makhachev wasn't a complete fighter. I don't like this guy's fight style. I don't like how he beat my boy JDM. I don't like how he beat my boy Dustin Poirier. I don't like how he beat Volk. I don't like how he beat Charles Oliveira. But this guy, he's just so good, and it's undeniable that he is the best fighter in the welterweight division right now. But I don't think he's the best fighter in the world. Soy un hombre muy honrado que me gusta lo mejor. I don't think he's the best fighter in the world. Maybe he beats Ilya at 170 and the size advantage is just too much. But I don't know if he's the best fighter. I don't know if Islam Makhachev's the best fighter in the world. We'll see. I want the fight to happen. I'm going to promote the fight as much as I can before the UFC gets it done. I just want it to happen so bad. Ilya deserves to jump every contender here, not gonna lie, even though they're all so good. And the sad thing about Shavkat, he's gonna be out for a long time. Looking at how his knee injury rehab is going, it's not looking the best right now. But regardless, hopefully he gets better. He's a sick fighter. Hopefully we get to see him back. Anyways, we move on to the middleweight division. There we go. That was my stim. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my stim on the welterweight division. The middleweight division. Another pretty good division. This division is only improving. We don't have a sitting duck as the title holder right now. Ha ha ha. Hamza is out of here, and now we have Strickland as the champion. I know Strickland has his shoulder injuries and he has his nose broken, but he's trying to be active, man. He's going to take some time to heal. He's probably going to take 7 months, I would say, and then he's going to get right back in there. And I know 7 months is a decently long time, don't get me wrong, but he did get injured, and he's just saying AC tear, we'll just walk it off. And I think that he'll get back in there as quick as he can, and I think he's going to get back in there against Nasruddin Mavov. Fights to make after UFC 328 video out on the page. Also, check it out. We're flourishing with content right now. Ever since Hamza lost to Sean Strickland, it has been a good life and a good time to be alive. Yeah! All right, anyways, so the middleweight division. Who do we put at number 5? I think it's easy who you put at number 5. Ain't no Kyle Vahalio going at number 5. Joe Piper. Big Philly body bags, Joe Piper. Body bags, no body cam, Joe Piper. Big Philly. Body cams, body bags, no body cam, Joe Piper. Philly Joe Piper, number 5. Number 5, Philly cheesesteak, Joe Piper. No body cam off, body bags, Joe Piper, number 5. And the win over Izzy is so impressive. I know, and actually, it's not that impressive. Hold on, I'm stimming right now, man. The Izzy win is impressive though. But the thing is, that's an Izzy that was trying to brawl with him. You can't brawl with big body bags Joe Piper, big Philly Joe Piper. You can't brawl with him. And Izzy should have known that. I don't know why Izzy was. I think it was honestly because, and I'm like I ain't gonna excuse Izzy's action. Y'all think I like Izzy, bro? But Izzy, he was winning round 1 as he does usually. He was picking apart Joe Piper with the leg kicks. He was looking like vintage Izzy. However, I think Joe Piper landed his big meaty right hand on him, and then it kind of it wobbled Izzy, but you can't see it because Izzy doesn't react with facial expressions, or he doesn't look wobbled, like his legs don't shake or anything, but he just reacts by moving backwards and being submissive. And that's what he did against big body bags, no body cam off Joe Piper. And Joe Pyfer, he poured it on him, and then he took him down, used the grappling. Joe Pyfer's a really good grappler. Izzy's got good takedown defense, but once you get him on the ground, he's a sitting duck. And then Joe Pyfer got his back, and it was wraps. He started teeing off on his back, giving him back shots, pause. Joe Pyfer got it done against Izzy, and that's impressive. He submitted Abbas Magomedov, and I know Abbas Magomedov ain't the best guy in the world, but submitting a Magomedov, come on. I mean, come on, kid. You submitted a Magomedov? Come on, kid. We ain't giving you a fucking bonus, kid. But anyway, I think Joe Pyfer did actually get the bonus for that one. But, Joe Pyfer, he submitted Abbas Magomedov. Submitting Abbas Magomedov is actually pretty impressive, considering Abbas Magomedov is a grappler. Joe Pyfer, he's looked good, man. And he had kind of an underwhelming performance against Kelvin Gastelum, and he did drop him 3 times. But I kind of thought that he was going to get big KG out of there. KG can be a tricky customer when he decides to be. So Joe Pyfer, I think he's number 5. I think he's very good in this division. I think that the guy that you put above him though is a guy who's more proven, had a better, cleaner win over Izzy, and that's Nasruddin Mavov. Nasruddin Mavov starched Izzy out cold. And then his next fight, he beat Kyle Bahalio 49-46. Very impressive fight. And Mavov, he's very sharp on the feet. He's got really good footwork, really explosive. He trains with Cyril Gane. He is dirty. He is a dirty son of a bitch, is Nasruddin Mavov. But he is very good. He's got good grappling. I think he's got better striking than grappling. And he's Dagestani. I know he says he's French, but he ain't French, man. He's Dagestani all the way. And you look at his fight style. He's got like that kind of Cyril Gane-esque striking, but he's got the grappling. He comes from a grappling background. I think there's a reason that Khamzat and Mavov wouldn't fight each other. It's because they've got similar styles and they don't. I don't know. It's some weird Dagestan. I know Khamzat's not Dagestani, but it's that weird regional type of thing that they do. But regardless, it's the Caucasus region and the wrestlers, and they don't want to fight each other for some reason. But anyways, yeah, I think Mavov matches up well at number 4. I think that he matches up with the number 4 spot. And you may wonder, well, he's a number 2 division, and you think he should get a title shot, JJMMA. Who do you have above him? JJMMA? And the guy that I have above him is Dracus, and I think Dracus beats Mavov pretty easy, not easily. I would say that Dracus is just he's so unpredictable, and he's a nightmare matchup for any guy who's like a clean striker like a Mavov. And Dracus is just gonna he don't even know what he's gonna throw. He don't have a game plan. He's just gonna go out there. He's gonna wing it, and I think that he beats everyone in the division besides Khamzat. And the reason that he don't beat Khamzat. Dracus, he always finds a way to win. He hired Sean Strickland to beat Khamzat Chimaev. That's how good Dracus is. He can't beat Khamzat, so what? He hires Sean Strickland, who he already beat twice. Well, twice on paper, but using the Anthony Smith method here on paper. On paper, I beat Zhang Wing. Anyways, all right, I went on a huge detour there, but Dracus hired Sean Strickland to beat Khamzat, and it worked. His plans always work. Everybody said DDP by falling piano. DDP by hiring Sean Strickland to beat Khamzat Chimaev. But anyways, enough said on that. DDP's very good. He's got his own weird way, his awkward way of striking. He throws really slow strikes, and they're very telegraphed. But they still get through on other opponents. Like they got through on Strickland somehow in the second fight. They were getting through in the first fight too, but I think Strickland won that fight. I do think Strickland won the first fight. It wasn't a robbery because the fight was close, but I think Strickland won personally. But Dracus, he's beaten everybody else. He ran through Robert Whittaker, ran through other guys, ran through Darren Till, ran through Derek Brunson. He didn't steamroll Izzy. Izzy had the fight was 2-2 before the end of the 4th round when Dracus wobbled Izzy, and then he started teeing off on the fence. He fell into a takedown and then submitted. He pulled off this type of grip, rear naked choke on Izzy, and once Izzy's on the ground, he's a sitting duck. And that's how he's lost every one of his fights on his loss streak, except for Mavov and Strickland. So I guess not every, but half. But anyways, Dracus is very good. Does he beat Strickland in a rematch? I don't know. I think it's more even now, honestly. I think Strickland's gotten a little better. His win over Fluffy looked really good, and his win over Hamzat looks almost even better, considering he had one arm. So, yeah, I mean, enough being said, I got Hamzat above him. Hamzat's still very good. I think Hamzat beats not Strickland. I think Hamzat beats Dricus, like, probably 8 times out of 10. I think Hamzat beats Dricus 8 times out of 10. The thing is, he was quitting in round 5 to Dricus, and Dricus almost had that rear naked choke in, but Hamzat's too good of a grappler. He scrambled out of it. As we expect, that level of grappler from that region to get out of that type of submission. But yeah, I mean, anyways, enough being said, the guy who beat him at number 1, and this is kind of a mess of a ranking because like there's stylistic matchups here that like I think Strickland beats Hamzat again, but I think Duplessis beats Strickland. I think DDP beats Strickland in the rematch. I think Strickland is a little better, but DDP is a horrible stylistic matchup for Strickland just because his unpredictability allows for him to get strikes through on Strickland's brick wall defense with the strikes, and then he took down. What surprises me the most about the Hamzat fight versus Strickland versus the DDP and Strickland's 2 matchups is that DDP was taking down Strickland at will, when Hamzat wasn't able to do that all the time. And Hamzat was able to get to Strickland's hips obviously and take him down, but Strickland wasn't working his way back up as well against DDP. I mean, he's still working his way back up, but he was getting held down more by DDP in the mount in the half guard. More than Hamzat was doing that to him. So, yeah, and there's other stylistic matchups in this division that I think could be problems. I think that Strickland beats Piper. I think that Strickland beats everybody in this division right now except for DDP, and maybe somebody down, like maybe you get into Teba Gautier if he gets good enough. But I don't know. He had a close fight with Pulayev, but we'll see. I think it's going to take like an up-and-coming prospect or DDP to beat Strickland. It's one or the other. I think it'll be DDP. But anyways, that's what I think about the middleweight division. And yeah, we move on to the light heavyweight division. I hate the light heavyweight division right now. I hate it. I'm a coping Yuri fan. I love Yuri, but he's so stupid. He reminds me every time, man. Reminds me every time what happened. Olberg's good, though. Olberg's good and he's entertaining. But he's going to be out for another 6 months. Even probably more than that. I think he's going to be out. He won't fight for the rest of the year. I think he'll fight at the start of next year. Maybe in their annual February Perth, maybe a Sydney event, something like that. Maybe they go to Melbourne or something. Maybe they finally go to Auckland, New Zealand. Who knows? But, I think that Olberg fight, well, he'll somehow keep the belt. He's going to be the only light heavyweight champion not honorable enough to vacate the belt and let the division move on. But, he's recovering well right now, especially for a 36-year-old man. Enough said on Olberg. We'll talk about him later. I think that the number 5 guy in the division right now, and I think that he's a nightmare matchup for Hamzat if he moves up. He's a nightmare matchup for a lot of guys in this division, and that's the Eraser, El Borrachino, whatever you call him, Paulo Costa. I think Paulo Costa enjoys we are so back. We saw this guy live. We gave him a fist bump. I'll put out the video. Yeah, Paulo Costa, the Eraser. He beat Azamat Murzakanov, who is a plotty old man himself in the light heavyweight division. But he was 16-0 for a reason. And I mean, he dropped a Rakic with a jab and knocked him out cold. And I know it was a jab, and that version of Rakic is not, that's an AI Rakic. That's Rakic after his ACL surgery. He's been a shell of himself ever since the Yuri fight. But yeah, regardless, Azamat Murzakanov was a good fighter. Azamat Murzakanov, excuse me, I'm burpy today. Murzakanov, he's still a good fighter, and he was landing his shots on Paulo Costa. I got scared sometimes when Paulo Costa was up against the fence and Murzakanov was landing some big shots on him. He took a round off of Costa, and then he was able to mix in the grappling. So I am kind of worried about Paulo Costa against grapplers. He could be a tough matchup for Chimaev. But the thing is, Chimaev's got the good Soviet-style striking as well. Chimaev's obviously got the dominant grappling. He just wasn't able to do it to Strickland. America wins once again. Anyways, setting my national pride aside, You know, Paulo Costa, he's very good, and I think that he beats a lot of other lower ranked guys, not lower ranked guys, but I'd say maybe some guys in the top 5. I think he beats. Him versus Khalil Roundtree would be interesting, but I think that the next fight they're going to make is probably him versus Ankalaev. They might do that for a July 25th Abu Dhabi main event. Who knows? Maybe that would be really interesting, and I think they should do that. But who knows? Who knows if the UFC will give the people what they want? Regardless, and Ankalaev also hasn't fought since October. Coming off the curl up in a ball KO loss to Alex Pereira. Yeah, and that's the next guy we're going to talk about. Magomed Ankalaev. And Magomed Ankalaev, he's not as good of a grappler as we think he is. He's not the grappler that we think he is. He's a counter striker. Ankalaev is a striker, and I know he's Dagestani, but Ankalaev is mainly a striker. He's a great counter striker. He was able, I know it was an injured Pereira. I know it was an AI Pereira, a shell of himself. Sora AI is really getting advanced nowadays. But, Ankalaev, he was able to wobble an injured Pereira, a shell of himself. He's good with the counter striking, man. I was getting scared for Pereira when he was getting over aggressive, and Ankalaev started landing the body kicks because Ankalaev's got some mustard in his hands. He's a good counter striker. That's what he does. He knocks out people. He don't submit people. He don't boring decision lay on top of people. That's not Ankalaev. He's a counter striker. He controls the fight. He's like I don't know. Strickland's trained with him. Strickland's trained with Ankalaev, and Ankalaev says Strickland's tough to hold down. That's a light heavyweight Ankalaev, who's a Dagestani grappler. But I mean, not a grappler, but he trains out of Dagestan, and he's he has a grappling background. Is my point, and he's a combat sambo fighter. However, Ankalaev, where his weaknesses lay is when, somebody gets, and we saw this with Pereira, when somebody gets really aggressive with him or when somebody throws up a solid submission like Paul Craig did to him. And I know that was Ankalaev's tadpole phase of his career, but, when somebody throws up a submission against Ankalaev, he ain't able to really dog it out and move out of the position as well as other Dagestanis are. Considering he's a heavier dude, he's less able to get to side control and kind of flow there when he's on the ground. But, when somebody gets aggressive over him, especially, a guy with serious power like Pereira, I don't know. I would be scared for Ankalaev. And Ankalaev in dogfights, I don't think would do so good because, Ankalaev, he likes to have it clean, and then, he likes to really find a shot and then, put someone out with a counter. He's really good with this counter straight. I'm pretty sure he's a southpaw, so he likes to throw that counter left. So yeah, I mean, Ankalaev's good. He's mainly a striker, unlike people think. And yeah, we move on to a guy that I actually think is ranked higher than that. Yuri. I think Yuri's a nightmare matchup for Ankalaev. And the reason that I say this is because Yuri has the dogfights. And I don't think Ankalaev has that type of power. And Ankalaev's a counter striker, but he don't have that counter left hook or that lead hook to put out Yuri with it on the chin. And Ankalaev, he's a similar striker. No, he's not a similar striker to Khalil because Khalil mostly goes forward. He checks the distance and then he'll go forward, try to kick you. But the thing about the matchup between Yuri and Ankalaev is that, well, let me sit up for this one. It's that Yuri, he pulls people in these dogfights. I think that Ankalaev will probably take round 1 off this guy if they ever fight, and I think they will eventually. But Yuri, he just I don't know, he just throws random stuff. Like don't let the Olberg fight distract you. Yuri's still very good. His chin worries me, but I don't think Ankalaev's going to be able to land that check left hook or, I guess right hook because he's a southpaw or that counter hook on Yuri. I don't think he's that type of guy. He's not calm and composed in moments of distress. Like Olberg did a really good job staying calm and composed. That's actually who I have above Yuri. I think it was going to happen anyways. I think Yuri was going to get knocked out anyways. But anyways, Yuri, Ankalaev, he doesn't stay calm and composed in situations of distress like Olberg does. Olberg was able, even with a blown out ACL, even with a completely torn up knee, he was able to stand on that one leg, stay calm and composed, still find the shot, still stay in it. If it went, this is the thing that pisses me off so much as a diehard Yuri fan, is if we made it into round 2, if we made it to the stool, Olberg wouldn't have been able to get up from the stool. He wouldn't have been able to get up from the stool. And that's I don't know, like, dude, there's just something wrong in the head with Yuri. Yuri's just very smooth-brained. Why don't you finish an injured opponent when he's injured? Why don't you finish an injured opponent? That is just, dude, like, you're not a Japanese samurai. Just stop the act, bro. You're 33 years old, man. Stop acting like a Japanese samurai, bro. You don't have to follow the Bushido code in a UFC fight. Come on now. But anyways, Ankalaev, like, he doesn't stay calm and composed in the moments like Olberg does. Like a guy like Olberg, like Ankalaev, he panicked when Pereira came at him. And in moments of chaos, like once round 3 and round 4 starts, if it's a 5-round fight per year, but like once those later rounds, once the championship rounds start, then Yuri is going to start to turn it up. He's going to start to turn it into a dogfight. And Ankalaev is not going to. Ankalaev's not a brawler. He likes things clean. He likes things clean, like a Makhachev, like a Khabib. He likes things clean, like a Hamza. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't like it when somebody's pushing the pace on him, and that's why I think Yuri would dispose of Ankalaev in the later rounds. I think Ankalaev would crumble against Yuri, but that's what I think. And obviously, the number one is Pereira. I would be interested to see Pereira versus Olberg. Pereira versus Costa might actually be interesting too, but I think he'd probably chin Costa, not gonna lie. Even though Costa has a pretty decent chin. But, Pereira's reigns supreme over this division. He still does. He still looms over the division. If he loses to Cyril Gane, which I don't think will happen, he's going to come right back down, and he's going to dominate this division again. But, him versus Olberg would be interesting. I'd be interested to see that. Hopefully Olberg doesn't look too terrible after his surgery is done, because I'd like to see, a prime form. I don't want to see another Jamal Hill or another Alexander Rakic. I want to see another, another prime Olberg. I want to see the Olberg that fought Yuri. So if he's going to be champion. Anyways, that's what I think about the light heavyweight division. Alex Pereira, clear number one. He looms over everyone in this division. Olberg versus him would be interesting. But yeah, we move on to the heavyweight division. I mean, it's ramping up. The heavyweight division is ramping up. It's not a horrible division anymore. It's also like it is still the worst division in the UFC, don't get me wrong. But the division's ramping up. We got some new characters in there. We got some new prospects. We got Brando Pericic, who I think is really good. He's ranked number 13 or 14 in the division. We got a Walter Walker who's fighting Thomas Peterson in Abu Dhabi for some reason. I don't really understand the matchmaking. I think that he should probably be fighting a rematch with Marcin Tybura or Rebook. He hasn't fought Marcin Tybura before. Or, he should be fighting someone else up the rank, as like an Ante Delija. So I don't really get the matchmaking, but regardless, Walter Walker has a fight. He's an interesting guy in the division. He's a character. But yeah, speaking of characters, the guy that I have at number 5 is Josh Hokett. And Josh Hokett has taken off. He's going to be a superstar just based off of how he's promoted himself. He took a big risk, facing absolute humiliation if he lost to Curtis Blades with all the build-up to that fight. And what did he do in the first 30 seconds of the fight? He dropped Curtis Blades down to a knee. And then he got on the pressure. He backed up Curtis Blades against the cage. Nasty punches against the cage. And then, he had the greatest, I'm ready to say it. I'll make a list, guys, of the best fights in UFC history. But I think that the number one fight in UFC history is Josh Hokett versus Curtis Blades. No recency bias involved. I've seen Royval versus Van. I've seen Burns versus Chimaev. I've seen Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald. I've seen all these legendary fights. I've seen Yuri Prochazka, Glover Teixeira. And none of those fights compared to the absolute sloppy dogfight that we saw in Josh Hokett versus Curtis Blades. And Curtis Blades, he turned the tide. He had his own moments. He turned the tide at the end of round 1. He was teeing off on Josh Hokett up against the cage. But completely gassed. In a 30-pound disadvantage in the 2 later rounds, Josh Hokett was starting to absolutely, turn the tide, like not turn the tide, but, he was starting to kind of dominate Curtis Blades in moments, who's a much bigger guy than him. And I know, Blades had Josh Hokett backing up in moments and looking like maybe he could have been wobbled. But that was number 1, just because he was so tired. And number 2, because he was kind of faking, like he put on an act and flailed up his arms one time like that. And that's just, Josh Hockett, he's so entertaining, man. He flips the middle finger at these guys, and then he would have moments where he's tired and he's kind of blobbing around for 15 seconds, and then all of a sudden he just go bang, 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 just like this nasty 6-punch, 8-punch combo up against the cage, or just pressure Curtis Blades back, and he'd land like 5 of them. He'd land like 5 or 6 of them if it's an 8-punch combo. You know what I'm saying? So what's it called? Yeah, Josh Hockett, he's very good, and a win over Curtis Blades means a lot in this division, especially if you're a guy like Josh Hockett coming up. And Curtis Blades' last fight was with Rizvan Kuniev, who's the number 8 ranked guy in the world now, and he's beats Rizvan Kuniev. He's very good himself. He's a very good technical striker. Curtis Blades beat him on one leg. Curtis Blades beat Rizvan Kuniev on one leg, and look at what a healthy Curtis Blades versus a healthy Josh Hockett. Look at that fight. Look at how Josh Hockett performed in that fight. Look at how badly he damaged Curtis Blades. Broken nose, broken orbital, messed up his face, cuts on his face badly. All the blood on Josh Hockett's white shorts were from Curtis Blades. Not a single cut. There was some swelling on Josh Hockett's face, don't get me wrong, but not a single cut was open on Josh Hockett's face. So he's a very good fighter. I'm interested to see how he fares in this division, especially because he's a lighter guy. Will the lighter man skill keep prevailing for him, or will he just rack up damage in his career and become a little bit chinnier? Who knows? I'll be interested. I will tune into every single one of this guy's fights. He might become one of my favorite fighters down the road. It's looking like it so far. But anyways, we move on to the number 4 spot. And, this is kind of where the division separates itself from, like, the number 5 spot here. And Sergey Pavlovich, he's been at the top for a while. I would be interested to see Hockett versus Pavlovich, not going to lie. I don't know who wins that one because Hockett has really good wrestling. He just didn't show it against Curtis Blades because Curtis Blades has really good wrestling, too. And he just showed his takedown defense against Curtis Blades. And, yeah, Pavlovich is a dog, man. Pavlovich has great power on the feet. I know Aspinall kind of died down his hype, but Pavlovich was, he was on a marauding streak. People forget, man. Pavlovich was a marauder, and I guess not so much. He kind of point fights now, but Pavlovich was on this marauding streak of knocking out a bunch of contenders in the heavyweight division until he fought for the interim heavyweight championship at Madison Square Garden on 1 week's notice for Tom Aspinall. I'm pretty sure he's in training camp, but Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich at Madison Square Garden for the interim heavyweight championship. And Tom Aspinall destroyed all that hype within 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, it was all gone with the snap of Tom Aspinall's fingers. And that just goes to show how good Tom Aspinall is. And Sergey Pavlovich, he's still a good fighter. He's more of a point fighter now. He just kind of like outpoint fighting, kind of controlled Waldo Cortez Acosta on the feet. But yeah, anyways, we move on to the number 3 spot. I got Cyril Gane here. And the reason I put Cyril Gane here is because I put Volkov at number 2. And that's like, I think that Volkov won the second fight. And, Cyril Gane, he's a tougher stylistic matchup for the champion, which, spoiler alert, number 1, Tom Aspinall. Cyril Gane's a tougher matchup for Tom Aspinall than Volkov is. People actually forget, man. Tom Aspinall submitted Volkov with an arm lock. Volkov did get submitted, and Volkov's more of a specialist on the ground than anything. He's more so developed the striking and how he controls people on the feet now has been more developed recently. Like, not recently, but he's gotten better at the striking over the course of his career, whereas he started off as a grappler. And Tom Aspinall, when look, Volkov's a specialist on the ground and really good in the jiu-jitsu, as he is a very long guy. Tom Aspinall was able to submit him with an arm lock, with a straight arm lock, not even an arm bar, just a straight arm lock with his hands. Got him to side control, got that submission on Alexander Volkov, and that goes to show how good Tom Aspinall is. But the thing about him versus Cyril Gane, it's a tougher matchup because Cyril Gane, he's just like an Amavov on the feet, where he's sharp. He doesn't have that much pop. He doesn't have that much power. Actually, Amavov doesn't pop, but he doesn't have power. There's the difference. But Cyril Gane, he has the quickness. He has the pop. Not really much power though. He was jabbing up Tom Aspinall at the start of the round, but then Tom Aspinall started to turn the tide against him. He landed good spinning back kicks to the body. He was starting to flow, and then obviously the tragedy of the eye poke, the dirty fuck that Cyril Gane is. Oh my gosh. I hope Pereira chins Cyril Gane so badly at the White House. But this Cyril Gane has absolutely leached his way into all these title shots. I don't know what relations he has. I don't know who he's related to at the UFC or in the matchmakers room, because I don't know why is he getting so much title shots, man? What is so good about this guy? Volkov beat him. Clearly. I think rounds 2 and 3. I'm pretty sure. I rewatched the fight like probably 2 weeks ago because I was gonna make this video a while ago. But I think rounds 2 and 3 Volkov took off of Gane. Volkov took those rounds off of Gane, and he won the fight. Volkov won the fight 29-28. It shouldn't have went to Gane. One of the worst, not the worst, but one of the worst robberies in UFC history, especially in recent UFC history. The worst is probably Reyes versus Jones. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about that in a later video. But Tom Aspinall, I think he would have. I think he had. I think it was probably a 50-50 fight, but I think he would have beat Jones, to be honest. He's good on the ground as well. He's got good wrestling himself. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's well-rounded. He's got pretty good power on the feet. He started off as a grappling guy, but he has the boxing. He has really crisp boxing, good kicks. This guy, he had all the makings to beat Jones, and Jones just chickened out of the fight. Oh, gosh. I wish that fight happened so bad, but Jones is a pussy. Jones is a pussy with these UFC fighters. You know what I'm saying? Like he just picks his fights. He used to not do that back in his prime. Like when he would fight the actual best guys in the division, like DC, like Gustafsson, who was one of the best back then, but he's not very good compared to the modern talent. But yeah, Tom Aspinall, he's at the top. I think he beat Cyril Gane in a rematch. I think he would have taken over as the fight went on. But yeah, this is my ranking for the heavyweight division. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is the end of the video. Obviously, no more divisions in the men's division of the UFC. I'm not doing women's rankings for this video. Sorry, guys. For those of you that wanted to see Jocelyn Edwards, where she's ranked in the women's bantamweight division, I'm sorry. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.